Great to see both of you here again. I'm not sure you missed a whole lot. It's been kind of a weird market action the last few days, and today certainly no different.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? The moves are kind of slight. I mean, we are holding on to our gains, and it looks like a little bit of an uptick here in the last few minutes of trading. But, you know, behind the small moves, there's so much going still on when it comes to certainly U.S.-China trade, whether or not the president is backing off certain policies when it comes to immigration. There's just so much churn, I feel like, in terms of news behind the trade.
Yeah, Eric Weiner was just on our program, and he shared with us a surprising technical, to me at least, which is, and I'll get the numbers a little off here, but approximately over the last 4 weeks, we've seen a 1% gain on the S&P 500, roughly. The 4 weeks before that was a 12% gain. So I won't say we've been treading water for the last 4 weeks, because 1% is nothing to shake a stick at, but taken in the context of the moves that we've seen over the last 8 weeks, hasn't been much.
Yeah, so it's a slow grind higher, climbing a wall of worry. I'll throw out all the cliches at you. But, you know, the other thing to keep in mind is we're talking about the weak dollar. The Bloomberg Dollar Index at a 3-year low, that's going to be a tailwind for so many companies in the S&P 500 that depend on overseas sales.
Well, here's the real question, guys. Carol, did you sit next to Tim when you traveled to San Diego?
I did. We actually sat side by side, and we survived. And
Did you talk?
Actually, a little bit.
I only responded to her questions.
I did. I did fall
You only
asleep.
speak to Carol Massar when spoken to on an airplane.
All right.
Not
Well,
that bad.
well, I don't know.
like it.
I don't know if this is related, but the main indexes that track airlines are lower here on the day by about 1%. Meanwhile, the rest of the market is in the green, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 100 points, or 1/4%. The S&P 500 continues to sort of inch higher, up about 23 points, or 0.4%. 6,045 and change is your closing number. The Nasdaq Composite up 1/4 percentage point. The Russell 2000, that's your main laggard, down about 8 points, or 0.4%.
All right, so let's dig into the S&P 500, guys. Not quite an even split. Scarlet, actually 300 names to the upside in the S&P, so a little bit more of a bullish tone. Can I even say that? 201 names to the downside, 2 unchanged.
Yeah, that's fair to say. You look at the IMAP, and it kind of shows up that way as well. You've got 8 sectors in the green, led by utilities, where 30 out of 31 big cap utilities finished higher on the day. PG&E is the exception there. Tech lifted by Oracle.
That's always a good sign when utilities lead the charge, right?
Yeah. But then you also have tech leading the way, too, largely on the back of Oracle, but still, tech and utilities. Maybe they're both safety trades because, you know, big cap tech. And then healthcare up 0.8%. The laggards of the day, communication services, consumer discretionary, and industrials.
Very interesting. All right, so let's get to some of the individual gainers. Hey, Oracle, that is your #1 gainer in the S&P 500, finishing the day with a gain of more than 13%. Company reported fourth quarter results that beat expectations, and they projected a 70% gain in cloud infrastructure sales this fiscal year, so really giving a bullish outlook. You okay?
Yep, all good. Sorry.
Okay, good. No, that's okay. Giving a bullish outlook for the closely watched business. Stock, by the way, is up more than 20% year to date, so definitely an outperformer. Datadog. I don't know. For some reason, when I say Datadog, I think of you, Romaine. Don't you like this name?
Okay. I don't know where you're going with that, but
okay.
yeah, let's continue.
Datadog. You always talk about Datadog. No, I didn't mean it. Do not read anything into that.
I read everything.
I know. No. Sometimes a cigar
I think he has a dog.
a cigar.
I do.
He has a dog.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
He's wonderful.
So maybe
Is it
that's
called
it.
data?
No.
Oh, that'd be funny.
She's called Carol.
#1 gainer in the
Okay.
NASDAQ 100. All right, moving along. Up about 3.5% in today's session. Wolf Research upgraded the software company to outperform from pure perform. They say it's one of the best positioned names in their coverage to benefit from AI adoption from both an adjacent, more workloads to be observed, and direct new AI offerings point of view, according to the analyst Alix Steel. Price target at 150 a share, and so the stock closed at 122 and change. So some upside certainly there, according to Wolf Research. Cardinal Health, 4.5%. This was a top gainer in the S&P 500. Shares hit a record here today after the healthcare distributor boosted adjusted earnings per share guidance for the full year and gave long-term growth targets that impressed Wall Street. Stocks up about 35% year to date. I know it was a record intraday, so yeah, okay.
Can I just add a couple honorable mentions?
No. I have one more.
Wow.
Shine.
Okay.
Shine Financial, which
Okay.
I was assuming you were going to get in there. So I asked Finley, if I could add this into, I know that was going back. Finley, if I could add a fourth name. Shine Financial, guys, up as much as 66% in IPO today, finishing the day with a 37% gain. We're talking about an IPO that went pretty well, priced above a marketed range. So doing pretty well. What are you going to add?
I'll add another honorable mention. That was my honorable mention, by the way. I'll just add MP Materials having a great day, up 14% on the back of that news about a potential loosening of rare earth rules here in the U.S. Tim?
All right, let's do decliners. I got my eyes squarely focused on the tragedy that happened in India earlier today. Watching shares of Boeing down 4.8% on the day. Fell as much as close to 6% earlier in the session. 787 Dreamliner traveling from India to London's Gatwick Airport crashed just shortly after taking off. This was the first ever complete loss of a hull of a 787. It's a plane that's more than a decade old. It's got advanced lightweight composite materials that improve fuel efficiency. There's about 1,150 of these jets in service, just an absolute tragedy. 2025 is right now one of the deadliest years in the past decade when it comes to civil aviation. Also affecting...
And I just want to point out, Tim, we
ahead.
are actually waiting for a press conference from the U.S. Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, on that.
Yeah, we're going to dip into that one on radio, too, when he does start to speak. Shares of General Electric now doing business as GE Aerospace, the engine manufacturer, down 2.3%. These were the engines that powered that 787 Dreamliner. They're the Gen X 1B engines. GE Aerospace actually is going to put together a team. They're going to go to India to analyze the cockpit data of that 787 Dreamliner. This according to a report earlier from CNBC. Once again, GE shares down 2.3% today. And finally, how about some Pokemon trading cards? Because that's what GameStop is saying is the future. Shareholders not loving it, falling 22.5%. What's that?
Not Bitcoin?
Not Bitcoin. I guess this week it's growing trading card business. Ryan Cohen said at the company's annual shareholder meeting, he's the CEO, that GameStop will focus on growing its trading card business. The business of Pokemon and sports trading cards is in line with our heritage. It fits our trade-in model. It appeals to our core customer base, and it's deeply embedded in physical retail.
Adobe earnings crossing the wire. Looks like a beat and raise quarter. Revenue up about 11% here at $5.87 billion. The street was looking for 5.8 even. Adjusted EPS coming in at $5.06 a share. The street was looking for $4.98. The company's guidance here for the third quarter. This says revenue will be in a range of $5.88 to $5.93 billion. The low end of that range is the average of street estimates. The company also says digital media revenue, a key metric now, of course, given everything going on with AI, 4.37 to 4.4 billion. And once again, the low end of that range is effectively the average of analyst estimates. You see that reaction in the shares, up 6%.
So the big question is really how the company really frames what's going to happen once its price increase comes into effect. It announced it back in May. It takes effect, or took effect June 17th. Takes effect June 17th. I'm getting my dates all wrong. But that's a big question mark because you've got upstarts like Figma and Canva that can take away some of the casual users, but the enterprise users will probably stick with Adobe. And how much will we see that really jump in the revenue line?
All right, guys, just quick check-in here on the bond market as we're waiting for more earnings to come out. RH, one of them is Adobe, trickles out as well. Buying across the curve, what was really interesting here is that we are off the lows of the session when it comes to the 2-year, despite those jobless claims and continuing claims, as well as that softer PPI. Also, on the back end, we had that 30-year auction. Went all right. We got through the auctions this week. Everything worked out okay.
Yeah, so interesting to see. Hey, RH just starting to cross the Bloomberg terminal. Company saying it still sees fiscal year revenue of up 10% to up 13%. Keep in mind as we wait for some more numbers to come out, this one's been beaten up big time year to date. It's down about 55% with almost 21% of the float shorted. So any outperformance, we could see some short covering, but we'll see because right now we are seeing the stock bouncing around just up about 0.4%. Anybody else?
No, sorry, I'm just trying to dive in, of course, into the RH earnings shareholder letter here. They don't actually release the numbers in a sort of clean fashion, so it'll take us a moment to get to them. But it gets to this idea here. We talk about kind of the dichotomy between what we're seeing on the business spending side when it comes to Oracle, when it comes to Adobe, and, of course, what we see on the consumer side when it comes to RH, at least luxury consumers. Alix Steel, a big fan.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Romaine loves the RH. Sees second quarter revenue growth of about 8 to 10%. So those numbers coming in as well. And again, those full year revenue growth about 10 to 13%.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Our cross-platform coverage. Good to be back with all of you guys. We do it on radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. Alix is heading out. Scarlet and Romaine continuing certainly on the TV side. Tim and I continuing here on Bloomberg Business Week Daily. Guys, we will see you all together, same time, same place tomorrow.